Hey, what's cracking, you beautiful train wrecks? How you doing? What's up? Hey, how are you? Welcome to the party. Hey, you up there, welcome to the party. Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Sober Psychology. It's the podcast where we don't just poke at your mental scars, we rip them open, we pour in a little bit of truth serum, and we watch the healing happen. I'm Michael, your host, a psychologist in training, a sober dad, and a guy who's scribbled enough journal entries to know that putting pen to paper makes you feel like a whiny teenager, or it can actually save you. Today, we're diving into journaling. It's that thing that your therapist keeps nagging you about, but you blow off because, who has time for diary drama? Well, buckle up, because if you're in recovery and skipping this, you're basically handing your addiction a free pass to crash your party. Here's the raw deal behind all of this. Journaling isn't some fluffy self-care trend. It's a psychological sledgehammer that absolutely smashes through your bullshit excuses and forces you to face the demons that you've been dodging. By the end of this episode, you'll learn why your brain needs this like a junkie needs a fix, but I guess the good kind? Is there a good kind of fix? Sure. What science says about its power in sobriety and how to do it without feeling like a total loser. So you can expect some hard-hitting truths, some dark laughter, and maybe a few ego bruises, because ignoring your inner chaos is like ignoring a leaking gas pipe. It's gonna eventually blow up, guaranteed. All right, so let's spill some ink, let's spill our guts, and let's dive into it. Welcome to the show where we break down the mental health stigma, navigate sobriety with humor, and prove that it's okay to laugh while you heal. Let's get real, let's get honest, and maybe a little weird. Growth is messy, but you don't have to do it alone. This is Sober Psychology. Welcome back, people. Another week. Here's the family for you. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, as always. Had a lot of good traction, as per usual. Last week, we did imposter syndrome. This week, we're diving into journaling. I know that with imposter syndrome, we talk a lot about like the mindfulness aspect of it, and we do that pretty much in every episode. And I, who used to be a skeptic of all the mindfulness, meditation, journaling, positivity thoughts, I was very against all of it. I thought it was just a bunch of crap. And as someone who went to a Montessori school, you would think that I'm okay with that. But anyways, I have learned that it is the way. It is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
However, we are going to do a deep dive into journaling. I'm trying to shorten the long form episodes and just pack a punch. I realize I ramble a lot, much like I'm doing right now, but this is just journaling 101. This is going to kind of give you the psychological breakdown of it, and I guess try and sell you on the idea of it. And as someone who does it, I don't always like to do it, but I mean, I've got a notebook here. I've got, another journal that I keep I started writing in this one before my son was born, and I write an entry quite often, and I'm going to give it to him when he turns 18 or something like that. And then I've got a journal for when I do my quiet time. I used to hate it. I used to hate the idea of it, but I'm telling you it works. And I'm going to explain to you why it works. But before we dive into this, we are approaching 700 subscribers. That's 700 of you freaking weirdos that have decided to jump in, dive in, dig in, and continue to support the channel. I'm very grateful for you. I appreciate you a lot. Those numbers that I always harp on about how we have so many people watching the content that aren't subscribed, those are starting to change, okay? 3 weeks ago, it was like 93% of people watching the content are not subscribed. Now it's like 70 to 60%. Man, y'all are too much love, and I appreciate you. So anyways, let's dive into the episode. This is going to be section 1 of it, and we're just going to basically break it down like we typically do on this channel. What the hell is journaling anyways? Okay? Journaling, it's not for sissies. It's your brain's way of saying, stop lying to me, asshole, basically. At least that's how I dumbed it down to help me understand it. So we're going to start with the basics, because if you're thinking that journaling is just like Dear Diary BS, well, you're half right, but the other half could actually save your life. Journaling is basically just dumping your thoughts, feelings, and screw-ups onto paper without any judgment, or at least trying to. The only person that should be judging in that situation, or is going to be yourself, right? But this journal is for you. It's like therapy, but free and without the awkward eye contact, okay? Pop psychologist is going to call this expressive writing, and it's been around since, cavemen could start scratching their woes on walls, right? So psychologically, it's a powerhouse. A classic study by James Pennebaker showed that writing about traumas for, I think it was just 15 minutes a day, improves your mental health, it reduces stress, and even boosts your immune system, which is freaking huge, right? Because we know that there's a mind to body connection, right? And if your mental health is doing well, chances are your physical health is going to improve from that as well. If you're constantly stressed and anxious and down or angry or whatever, your immune system begins to take a very serious toll with that. You get sick a lot, okay? Then you can fast forward to 2025, and there was a research study that still backs and all of this, but I think it was Psychology Today did a piece in June, maybe, of this year of 2025 that says that journaling enhances your mood, it cuts stress, and it ramps up self-awareness in college kids. That's who the study group was, right? But it applies to us sober folks too, and grown adults who aren't in college. And why, you might ask? That's a great question. I have an answer. It's because your brain is a hoarder of emotional garbage, okay? And journaling basically just forces a cleanup, right? We don't give our brains enough credit. It's a very, very, very powerful, but the amount of information that you store over and over and over again, and it'll keep a good bit of that, even if you can't force it to your memory, your brain's still storing it. And subconsciously, your brain will wear you down. I'm telling you, your brain's a bastard half the time, right? But this journaling is basically like going through and just cleaning the house. Hey, this has been sitting on the shelf for years. I don't need this anymore. This garbage is starting to stink. Let me go ahead and take this out. So that's basically what journaling does. It's a purge. It just kind of cleans everything out. It gets you going. It would be almost the equivalent of, like, let's say that you are eating very unhealthily for months and months and months, and you feel like crap all the time. And then you decide, all right, I'm going to fast from sugar. That's something that I have to do. Or I'm just going to fast in general. And you do like 3-4 days of fasting, and then you just kind of reset your system. That's almost what journaling is for your mentality, right? In recovery, this is absolute gold. The big book doesn't exactly spell this out, but step 4 is all about searching and fearless moral inventory, right? And that is basically journaling on steroids. And then you go to page 48, where it says that we have to face the facts as they are. Right? That's journaling. It's staring at your mess without the booze blinders on. Okay? If you skip it, you're just white knuckling sobriety like a chump. And I'm telling you, for someone who has tried to white knuckle sobriety before, it doesn't work. It's awful. It's miserable. You can do it. All right? Just do the thing that seems difficult at first. It makes it easier on the back end. Journaling is like confessing to a priest who doesn't judge you, but if you lie, your own handwriting eventually calls you out, right? This is like a self-therapy here. It's fantastic. Your brain is full of crap. Journaling is the plunger, right? If you don't flush, you can just enjoy the overflow in crap city. Put that, is that a t-shirt? Did we just come up with a t-shirt design? Your brain's full of crap. Journaling's the plunger. Let's go over here to it. Your brain's full of crap. Oh, hey, you're over there. Your brain's full of crap. Journaling's the plunger, okay? Enjoy the overflow in crap city. I'm so stupid sometimes. Section 2 of this is it's talking about the psychological traps that journaling helps you smash, okay? We've talked about, I think especially in the previous episode of imposter syndrome, but this negative feedback loop and how we're constantly setting traps for ourselves with the way that our brain operates. We stay in this negativity, right? And we're setting these traps. So journaling helps to just dismantle that, right? And why does your brain need this paper purge? It's because without it, you're trapped in rumination, right? And again, it's that endless loop of the why me bullshit. All right. And there's a 2024 study from helpguide.org that found gratitude journaling can boost satisfaction and buffer stress, right? So these are the levels that you're wanting. It's going to lower the stress. It's going to boost satisfaction. You become more aware of the things that your wins, if you will, the victories, the things that you're grateful for. All right. Pop psychology absolutely loves this. And I'm not a huge fan of pop psychology, but I'm aware enough to know that I kind of teeter on the line with that. But pop psychology absolutely loves all of this. You write 3 things that you're grateful for, and then suddenly you're not a miserable bastard anymore. All right. But let's get real. In recovery, gratitude is not just, hey, thanks for the coffee. Grateful for the coffee. It's the, thanks I didn't wake up in a ditch, right? The stakes are a little bit higher, or the values are a little bit different. And it's still important. That gratitude journaling is very important, especially for me. When I get stressed out, when I get bent out of shape, when I'm all caught up in my head, like we've talked about how, things work with the amygdala, right? I'm processing all of these negative thoughts and I'm staying in this loop. I do a gratitude journal. I don't necessarily always write it down, but it's kind of like a quick prayer even, like, God, thank you for the top 5 things that come to my head that I'm grateful for. And typically the immediate ones are my family, the fact that I have a loving wife, the fact that I have a beautiful, healthy child, the fact that I have a roof over my head, a bed to sleep on, my belly's full, I got food on the table, but then also it always tends to turn into this, I'm so grateful that I'm still sober. I'm so grateful that I didn't end up in jail again. And so these it doesn't even have to be super elaborate. It's just getting from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex to help you start to process and get out of that negative rumination, that negative feedback loop that you stay in, and just realize, all right, it's not as bad as I think it is, right? Journaling tackles anxiety and depression head on. It holds nothing back, right? Research from positivepsychology.com lists the 5 benefits, including accepting mental experiences without judgment, leading to fewer negative emotions. Okay, so that's just that in a nutshell, right? There's a 2021 study that echoed this. Less depressive symptoms and anxiety after a month of journaling. Sign me up, right? So journaling is not the quick fix, mind you. Journaling is the beginning of creating muscle memory. It's the beginning of the work, right? Why does all of this work? It externalizes the chaos, turning the swirling negative thoughts into actual manageable words. Your brain is like a tangled ball of yarn, and then journaling just helps to unravel it, right? That's it. But here's the hard truth of it all. If you're avoiding journaling because it's too emo, you're just scared of your own shit. That's all it is. The big book on page 62 calls selfishness the root of troubles. All right, journaling exposes that ego monster tenfold. Ignoring it, and then you can begin to watch your confidence tank, and then your cravings from that ultimately will spike. Right? Anxiety is your brain's bad roommate. Journaling is basically going to help you evict it. Keep paying rent, enjoy the relapse party, whatever. You can either do it or don't. But all this is doing is getting you into the rhythm of thinking through things in a more logical sense. I have all of these negative emotions and crazy thoughts going on. If I can just begin to journal this and jot it down, now I can put words with it. I can have a moment to think about it. Instead of this chaos going on in my head, I'm able to just breathe, write it down, and then I can start to process this a little bit differently. And eventually, you're not always going to have a pad and a pen, handy. You could do it on the notes in your phone if you want to. But I've gotten to this point where I would say it's almost like a 50-50 split at this point. When I have time and I'm sitting in a space where I have a pad and pen, or I have, I've got my iPad with the little pen on it and I could journal on that as well. But if I have the time, I'll write it down. But there are a lot of times, you're out in the wild, you're out in public, you don't have pad and pen handy. And so that's where, in my opinion, that's where this prayerful thought begins to come into play, because you can journal. Now, I wouldn't suggest this being the fallback right at the beginning. At the beginning, you need to have a pad and pen. You need to get into the process of, how am I going to write this down? How am I going to put it there? But at a certain point, you can learn that muscle memory enough to say, okay, I'm going to breathe and I'm going to act as if I'm journaling. You can visualize yourself writing it if you need to, but it's the same process, right? It helps you just get it out of your head and onto the paper and then start to work through it that way, okay? Section 3, journaling in addiction and recovery, which this is the real deal, all right? So we're gonna hit recovery a little bit harder now, but journaling is not an option, in my opinion. It's a weapon, right? There's a 2025 post-spectrum health systems that says that it eases emotional distress, it reduces anxiety, and then it boosts the self-awareness in addiction and recovery. Okay, American Addiction Centers call it a powerful tool to distress and to track habits, right? Or to de-stress and to track habits. Okay, in March 2025, Robin Recovery highlighted how it helps articulate guilt, shame, and anxiety during recovery. Us recovered people, we still struggle a lot with that guilt and that shame and that anxiety. And it may just be from an emotion or a memory that popped up and it triggered a bunch of emotions for you and what. But this journaling is going to help you begin that process of working through that. And it's science backs all of this, right? It begins to reduce that shame. It helps you to articulate that guilt. And then it lowers the anxiety from all of this, okay? Positive recovery journaling, PRJ, from a 2024 feasible study, I believe, and it's positive psychology tailored for recovery is what journaling basically is. Okay, making your life rewarding without substances. Okay, so you can kind of see this as like when you actually are getting into it, you become almost addicted to this journaling process. Like, you know how quickly it makes you feel better. It helps fight the cravings. So then you just jump on in and you say to yourself, okay, I'm just going to journal. And then it's crazy how it does help the cravings, at least from my experience, and science has backed this up. But this is basically like AA's step 10, right? It's daily inventory. And I think it's on page 84 where it says we continue to watch for selfishness, right? Journaling keeps you honest. It keeps you aware of yourself and what's going on. And yes, is that the placement of high accountability, sponsors, spiritual leaders, people that are in your life that are leaning in for accountability? Sure. But you need to have a level of self-awareness with what's going on as well, right? If I know myself to be the person who, as soon as I get mad, I'm immediately wanting to drink, well, what am I going to try and do? I'm going to try and mitigate that anger as best I can. And if journaling is a way to do that, okay, well, now I can catch it before it takes hold. And then before you know it, I'm at the bottom of a bottle and everything is, starting over from scratch. Science 100% agrees with all of this. The Silver Ridge Recovery in 2024 reported improved mood, reduced anxiety and depression, and better well-being through journaling and recovery, right? But the dark side of all of this, if you journal half-assed, it's almost worthless, okay? There's no sugarcoating any of this. Face your triggers or relapse is waiting with open arms, all right? Journaling in recovery is just tracking your wins, or you watch your losses pile up. Right? It's your choice, champ. You figure out what you want to do, okay? Section 4 of this is going to be how to journal without sucking at it, all right? How do you actually do this without feeling like a fool? It's a great question. So you're going to start simple, 10 minutes a day, all right? Just 10 minutes a day. It's all you have to do. And part of that, 5 minutes of that, can just be thinking through it, right? Let me begin to process what I'm going to put on the paper. Then you start to put it on paper. Quick 5 minutes. That's 10 minutes a day. That's it. 10 minutes a day. So here are the elements of journaling. You've got like expressive writing journaling, which is basically you're just dumping your emotions. You can write, I'm pissed at this, I'm angry at this, I hate this, whatever. Just get it down there, okay? That's the important part. We're gonna get it from our head to the paper so we can start to work on it, right? Then you have gratitude journaling, and this is where you're just listing your wins, right? We briefly went over this already, but it's basically just saying, hey, I am so grateful that I have this, this, and this. I'm so grateful that I'm sober. I'm so grateful that, it helps you begin to like yourself too, believe it or not. And then you have prompted journaling. And this is where you ask yourself the question, what triggered me today? Okay. What prompted this emotion? Right. And that's more of like the nightly. That's the inventory at the end of the day. These are just 3 quick ways for you to begin journaling. So again, we'll go over it. It's expressive writing, where you're just dumping all of your emotions down. Doesn't matter. Just write what you feel immediately. Go. Then you have gratitude journaling. You're listing your wins. You're listing the things that you're grateful for. And then you have prompted journaling, which is more reflective. What triggered me today? What brought on this emotion? Why am I so anxious? Why do I feel this way? Right? There's a 2024 Ivory Plains post that says it promotes self-awareness and emotional regulation. And as you know, and I will argue this until I can't anymore, but emotional regulation, I believe, is the biggest issue in mental health for everyone across the board, period, in the world, right? Relapse, some level of lack of emotional regulation. Angry outbursts, lack of emotional regulation. Withdrawing, hiding, being reclusive, lack of emotional regulation, okay? And so it's proving that this is actually going to help all of that. In recovery, journal cravings, like why now, what instead, things like that are questions that you could begin to ask yourself. But the big book is step 11, which is on page 85, encourages conscious contact, which is journaling amplifies that, right? We're doing this conscious contact. I'm trying to get in there. I'm trying to figure out what is going on in this head that's making me think and feel this way. I need to get in contact with it. I need to get to the point where I can navigate it a little bit better. And I can't do that unless I'm facing it, all right? It feels stupid, but just push through. I promise you it's worth it. There's a 2025 mental health CTR piece that links journaling to better emotional processing. That's the big one. We want to have emotional regulation, emotional maturity, and emotional processing. There are no excuses in this. Your sobriety is worth more than your pride, I promise you. There's no wrong way to journal. If you're writing from the heart, the only wrong way to journal is to not journal, okay? Journaling is hyper important, and I know that there are a lot of these so many of these rough, tough personalities where there's just pride and ego and pride and ego. If you I'm not calling people out for being negative. I have every week, I have multiple negative comments, someone trying to shoot down my content and say that, I'm soft and all this kind of stuff. That's just freaking ego and pride is all that is. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You're not going to get me to a point where because I journal and because I do mindfulness stuff and because I work on my emotional regulation, you're going to try and make me feel less than. I can guarantee you that the people around me would disagree with you. And the thing is, you owe it to yourself. Others will benefit from this, right? It does not make you soft. It's not emo. It's not weird. It may be awkward at first, but journaling is just a process of working on yourself. It's going to the gym for your brain. That's all that is. And I promise you, it helps. It's very big. And I would challenge you to look at areas of your life where you are reflecting a good bit and find where you can do it. Like for me, when I'm reading the Bible, I love to journal, right? Because that is a way for me. I have so many thoughts. I have a hard time sometimes reading the Bible, right? Because, it's outdated language. Maybe I don't understand the concept. Maybe I'm missing it, or I'm second guessing myself constantly. And yes, I go to God and I'm like, God, help me to silence my mind. Help me to hear what you want me to hear and see what you want me to see out of all of this. But part of that is journaling for me, to be able to pause for a second and write it all down and reflect. When I have journal entries in this journal I'm writing to my son where I'm frustrated with him. I'm like, hey, another night where you just chose not to sleep and I haven't slept at all and I've got schoolwork and all this stuff. But then I'm able, in the process of doing that, I'm able to follow it up with, but I'm so grateful for every moment. I love you and I cannot wait to see you have your own kids one day and they treat you this way, But every moment where you have a chance to reflect. If you don't know how to communicate with your spouse, if you don't know how to verbalize how you feel about a friend, whatever, journaling is a good way to work on that too. I can start to write it down and I can process it and I can kind of filter what I'm working on in my head, because sometimes all of these thoughts are just firing off with no regulation. That journal is the regulation for you, right? It's very important, I'm telling you. And if you're one of these chest pounding, chin held high, kind of thinking that you've got more swagger, you're the main character person that wants to come across and tell people that they're soft for doing mindfulness stuff, I guarantee you that you're the one who's losing, not them, all right? And here's a quick journaling hack for you. If you write it like nobody's reading it because they shouldn't be or they aren't, except your future sober self, you're going to see this beautiful connection with yourself. It's with your mind and this consciousness, whether you believe or not, but it's this God consciousness, right? Writing is a beautiful thing. It's a lost art. It's becoming a lost art, but this is a wonderful process. It is therapy without the expensive price tag. And it really begins to help you. There is no wrong way to do it. If you're journaling and you think that there has to be a certain blueprint for it, just write. That's all you do at first. And then you'll see how it starts to take shape. Now you're going to write with more purpose. Now I'm writing, I want to do prompted journaling, right? Like I want to know why is this happening? And then you can explore it, right? And then there's also, it's like an impulsive journaling, right? We used to call it two-way prayers in rehab, but you just pause for a second and you do like breathing exercises. You just take a deep breath, just breathe, sit with your eyes closed and listen to everything going on just for a little bit. Okay. And then as soon as you look down to start writing on that paper, write everything that comes into your mind for 2 minutes. Put a timer on your phone for 2 minutes. Write every single thing that's popping into your mind. Good, bad, happy, sad, whatever it is. And then just do it. Don't think about it. Don't think about anything else other than just writing what's in your brain. And then after that 2 minutes is over, go back and read through it. And just see where it's leading you. See how your brain worked through that process. And that is a fascinating practice. I still do it to this day by myself, just sitting in a room. And it's even more beneficial if you're able to sit with someone who you look up to, someone who you trust their emotional regulation and accountability partner. And when you go to read it back to them, hear what they're hearing from it too, right? Just read the list off. Don't explain any of it. Just read all the way down that list. Hear what they're throwing at you, right? And that's a cool thing too, because again, God speaks through people. God uses people in our lives. And our brains are scary, scary spots, dark spaces sometimes, scary spots, depressing places to be. And this is going to help you out a lot. I genuinely believe that. Okay. I know that for a fact. It will help you out a lot, but it's not a quick fix. This is work. You got to get into it and you got to do it every single day. Just 10 minutes. That's it. Just start off with 10 minutes, like doing push-ups. You don't have to knock out, you don't have to rep out 100 push-ups when you're starting back after spending years of not working out. Just do 10. Just do 10. And then the next day, do 11. Keep building and building and building, right? Journaling is not magic. It's work, period. You skip it, your brain stays a mess. Science in the big book absolutely scream its benefits over and over again. Less stress, more self-awareness, stronger sobriety, emotional regulation and maturity. Stop dodging your thoughts. Start to confront them. All right? I'm going to give you all homework. Grab a freaking notebook. Write in it daily. And please share in the comments with me how you've seen improvements, whatever you've seen in general. Just tell me how it goes, okay? I will read the comments. I will respond to them. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and share. If you're on Spotify, we'll catch you next week. If you're on YouTube, you guys know what to do. Y'all are killing it, and I appreciate you. Until next time, stay sober, stay real, and keep spilling those guts on paper, right? Journaling is cheap therapy that works. Or keep bottling it up and see how that ends for you. Keep your head up. Keep your heart open. Go help somebody. Love you guys.